Hey there, I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. Often random, but always relevant, always real, and practically nothing is off limits. This podcast is for you. Are you ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for joining us here on Wednesday night live edition of Contrast Project Lounge podcast with my co-host, Mr. Jim Alabiso and Charles Gaskin. How you guys doing over there?
We're doing great. Hey,
You're doing
Charles
great.
is being honest. I'm, this is just a facade. I'm so tired, about ready to crash.
I know, it's only midweek.
How are you? How are you, Tracy?
I am fabulous. I can't complain. It's the weather out here has just been gorgeous the last couple of days.
You're so fab, especially with those glasses. I didn't wear my cool
like a new
glasses
frame?
again tonight.
Yeah. I had to put on my new frames, man.
Hey, we got a guest, Tracy.
We do. We have a fabulous guest tonight. If you're from the North Florida area, which most of our viewers and listeners are, you have heard of this little place over in Five Points called Raindogs. And it has become an iconic symbol of the Five Points area, being over there for around 11 years. And we have the former owner of Raindogs here with us tonight, Miss Christina Wagner. Christina, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm not freezing tonight. I just got back visiting family up in New York, so it is nice to be able to wear a tank top.
The weather's been fabulous the last couple of days, I tell you. You know, even in town, it's, and I live out in the woods, and so it's a little different. It changes a couple of degrees. Sometimes we get rain, sometimes we don't. But it's Florida, it's supposed to be that way, I guess. Hey, Christina.
I never really see him in person because he lives so out in the boonies.
I know it. I'm a ghost. I'm a
fucking hermit.
This is AI. This is all AI generated here.
Hello.
So,
We're
That's
not
right.
really here.
That's my avatar. Hey,
I
Christina.
know you have a question for Christina.
I do, Christina.
Another icon.
Exactly. And, it seemed like, again, for, our viewers and such from Northeast Florida, they'll know you. Most people will recognize you. They certainly know and have been to, at least the people I know have spent many hours up there in Raindogs and in Five Points in general. And it seems as like the vibe is it's just taking a slow death over there. How was it for you, Christina? And what made you go into, running Raindogs 11 years ago?
Almost 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Kind of wild. I grew up in close to Five Points area. I moved to Riverside probably around 98.
From where?
I had been a big fan of Five Points all through high school. My friends, we would always catch a ride there and kind of, linger around. There was always, it was kind of magic. You know what I mean? For me, it was the one strip that made life a little easier living in south of the South.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd always worked on the strip or had done something or other. I worked at Club 5 Marquee Theater, Fuel Coffee House, and I had a crazy idea, and I had a couple partners, and in 2013, decided to try my hand at it, and it was a wonderful human experiment, as I call it. Just because you kind of you think you have an idea of the kind of place that you want. But the neighborhood has a mind of its own sometimes, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's creating something with a basic idea and allowing it to conform to the neighborhood it serves. And that's what we tried to do to the best of our ability with it, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and over the years, Christina, it truly did turn into a landmark for a lot of people. It was the Five Points neighborhood place to be. And I mean, even myself, when I never even lived in Five Points and lived in different areas around town, most in Middleburg, I have made it to Raindogs as many times as I could. So, and I think most of the people that I know. So the next question I had for you is, did you ever foresee, when you started the place and you felt it in your bones, it was going to be a hit? And through the years, it became more than just a hit. It became a cultural hub in the Five Points area. Did you see that? Did you ever see that coming?
No, no, of course. You hope. Be able to find be able to find the balance of all of that. And again, most of it is actually being a part of it and listening to what people want, because,
right.
Your idea can be one thing, but it's just a skeletal, it's just the bones, you know what I mean? The soul and everything kind of, you have to listen to and be tuned into, what people are looking for. And, I had been started bartending, 23, 24 years ago. My drinking habit is old enough to drink, you know what I mean? But, and I did, it's like, that was my, my first foot in the door was musician, loving music, loving going to places. I went to Milk Bar. I had my 16th birthday party at the Milk Bar. And it's like, I've made, and I still am friends with, a lot of people like throughout the shows and the years. And, I've known Charles since, we were teenagers, you know what I mean? Like, but, I don't know, like, you hope.
She's old. She's 1 year.
I know.
Sorry.
So yes, absolutely. I don't know. It's the hope, and it really is. And in bartending, you learn a lot about yourself and everybody else, because you're just unlicensed therapist sitting here trying to make sense of everything that is happening around you and trying to keep everybody. And me as now a mother of a teenager, like I definitely, it's funny because I see like similarities in all of that, and I'm like, oh well, I'm bartending prepared me for motherhood. You know what I mean? Trying to organize the chaos, make sure that everybody has fun, everybody is safe, and we're all like enjoying ourselves to the best of our ability. That's and the space was created because it was I wanted somewhere to go, and I wanted everybody to be, I have such different variety of friends, and I wanted them to all hang out in one spot and find out that there's more things than you think, and
that's a great concept, really. To take a lot of diverse people with a lot of diverse interests and slam them all together and see what it's probably greater than the sum of its parts anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean
it's a hodgepodge.
And it worked out, pretty well. Yeah. And then when it wouldn't, when it didn't, like then, then we transform into the next thing, when that's then we go through our own metamorphosis and figure out, what's next? How can I help people in a different way now that, all of our needs are changing or evolving into, different needs, so you take the same human interaction and human understanding, and you try to sit there and find how to make an entire new generation of people more comfortable, depending on what they're supposed to be changing into. You know what I mean? Like, where are they going from?
Did you have it long enough, 11, 12 years, for it to be generational? I mean, where your customers The people that frequented
Oh, for
their
sure.
age group changed.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild, and it was so beautiful and bittersweet, at the end, when we made the announcement. It had been something that I'd seen, you look for the signs. You don't look for the signs look for you, and they tell you, hey, either you're not on path or things are changing and you need to evolve with it. So when the decision happened, there was this rush of love and support that I got from the community that I wasn't anticipating, and it was a lot, man. Like after we closed down, like I kind of had to take like a step back, just kind of like understand it all, and it was really great. And you don't know, you're so busy, you're so worrying about, and that's the thing. It's like, nothing has been easy in my field since 2020. And before that, it was like live music venues were going through a hard time starting 2017. So it's just like everything in this specific genre, like unconventional, small live music, it's meant to be a small, and I like the small rooms because we can do whatever we want. Any idea isn't crazy enough, and at the time, like the overhead was enough to where I could pull it off, you know what I mean? But all of that changed, so it's harder. You had to sit there and sell your soul a little bit in order to make money, and then you get chastised. It's just like, it's such a weird and delicate Tetris in order to be able to do something that's full on creative and full on community based.
Right.
Try to make the best decisions that you can and try to balance it all. But yeah, generations and everything, definitely people coming up and like, this is the first place, I've ever seen a show, and great memories. Like we've had just some incredible acts that have come through. So it's, I have all those memories, and of course, like my perspective, because this is my firstborn, but to know that other people I've never met that have been affected in good ways, from us, in our existence here has been, it's been a lot. It's been beautiful, and it's been really heartwarming, but kind of like, again, bittersweet for sure.
So I got to ask you this question. You kind of alluded to it a little bit. So a lot of businesses had to go through some strain and pressure and anxiety during the pandemic and stuff. How did you guys get through it?
I mean, evolving, adapting. We were lucky. It's like a choose your own adventure situation when it comes to filing the paperwork and figuring out what exactly kind of cafe and license you need to start out with. And it's about as difficult to start like a tavern as it is like a small cafe. And the difference between the two is that with a tavern, you have to go through one department completely different, and it's bags of chips and no kitchen whatsoever. And then there's the where you have to go through DBBR, and you have to deal with a health inspector, and then it's a little bit more work on the overall. So they're both about the same amount of money and the same amount of frustration in order to start it up. And I happen to choose, because I do like cooking a lot. I decided to have I wanted to have the option of having the kitchen. And that one decision is one that on all the beer and wine bars in 5 Points, we were the only one with a cafe license. So we were able to be open because of the perimeters that were allotted for the city and the state during the lockdown. Right. But at the same time, there was just, again, being involved with the community and knowing what the needs are. We knew that there were a lot of people that were starting to make masks. I had a lot of us, we all, like, after 1 week of the 28 days later vibes, and I was like, well, I open my eyes every day and I hemorrhage money just for my existence because of my overhead. So I didn't have time to figure out, to wait and see what the government wanted, because at that point, the local government and the state government had no idea what was going on within themselves. So it was literally me being on top of that too, to see what we were allowed to do, what the parameters were for us being able to be open. They didn't even know it. I had to educate some of the state guys that tried to shut us down. It was an absolute mess. But because we were allowed to be open, we could do the package. People were staying home, so there was and with the 2 APS license, you can serve package on it. So we're doing that. We were, there was some things that were alleviated that we were allowed to package in growler style, and then we were making masks. Just kind of doing whatever we had to learn new things on the fly in order to be able to adapt to try to make the best of it. And I mean, we were able to survive and make it through, which was absolutely outstanding considering like a lot of businesses that were better put together and that had their shit together more than I did were making it. I was like, well, you guys aren't used to being poor, huh? Just like I've been poor my life, so it's like that's fine. You know what I mean? I got this. My 20s were me on tour, so it's like I've definitely been on almost living out of a van status. You know what I mean?
That's adaptability. Learn adaptability.
Or to know what everything, like my whole life is nothing but like series of events that I foresee as final destination. Everywhere I'm like, oh, that could follow me, or this could go to. As long as you're like paranoid and a little bit neurospicy and used to being poor, like you can figure out how to get yourself out of a pretty shitty situation. So
just come out and say you're neurotic.
I'm insane. We all know that, though.
Yeah. Well, I know,
I've known
Charles.
you since I was 14 years old.
I was just gonna ask you, Charles. You spent a lot of time with Christina, both in the club and outside the club. What are some of your memories of what Raindogs and Christina? What has Christina meant to you? Framing that within, like I said, that she had turned that place really into a rock, like you say, and a cultural hub for so many people. I mean, a lot.
I got to light a cigarette for this.
You can. You go right ahead.
Notice that.
I know.
Oh boy, here comes a question for Charles.
Then,
He's got to light up.
I gotta get my pen.
Is me swinging on the back here messing up the videos? Anybody get sick from this?
I feel like I'm in a Stanley Kubrick film or something like that, because you're like going back and forth and back and forth. Like it seems like you're an ominous mother. It's like coming to attack the child. Yeah. Yeah. I first met Christina at the Milk Bar, and she probably doesn't even remember this. God, yeah. When she was in Happy Scrappy Hero Pump. Third wave ska punk band. And we kind of knew each other throughout the years. Her P.V. Floyd and Hannah, of course, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, we were probably, because you're only 1 year older, because you're 81, I'm 82.
Mm-hmm.
So, 1981, 1982. I remember we were outside of the Milk Bar. No, sorry, we were outside of the Art Bar. This is when we were not even legally aged to drink. And I told you I had a crush on you.
That's why y'all are
I
making
told you I
up
had a
for it
crush
now.
on you.
Wait.
And you... Well, oh, wait, your sound cut off.
Oh,
Wait.
I was like, when you were
Wagner.
wearing your superhero costume on Halloween?
Yes, I didn't have it. You remember it. Holy shit. Yeah.
I was like, this motherfucker in a superhero costume, like kid superhero costume, somebody's got a crush.
That was it was a black towel with duct tape and long johns and yeah. Because I just pulled shit out of my drawer and made a costume. Yeah. And you were like, I'm sorry, I'm a born again virgin. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Okay, yeah.
I probably just told everybody that.
You what?
I probably told everybody that.
You probably did. Yeah. Except for amazing people like me. Yeah. Well, you did tell me that. So what's wrong with you? Oh, you're the one that has problems. We're gonna have to fist fight.
That's fine. I mean, it's been on my to-do list of fist fight. Like Buscemi.
Charles Gaskin's fist fight. Yeah. No, but for real, Christina has always been so fucking amazing. Because whenever I would fly back down to Jacksonville, when she opened up Raindogs, I'd stay with my parents, and I would always make sure I had one night off to go and see friends. And I would take a cab to Five Points and would go to Wall Street
Wall
and Raindogs. Yeah, Wall Street, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wall Street and Raindogs.
This
And so many times, Christina's like, "Hey, just stay at my place," and that way you can call, get a cab in the morning. And she was always a sweetheart, and she would make breakfast sometimes.
oh yeah,
And
I'm really breakfast. I love to feed people. Like it's like one of the like, do you want a sandwich? I mean, it can't be just a sandwich. It has to be like I have to butter thing on it. I've got to do some sort of truffle oil on the seared hams.
Nothing
over
wrong
the
with
top.
that.
I do remember you getting upset one morning. I'm lying in bed, and you're like, "Hey, I'm making eggs," and I was like, "Awesome. What kind?" You're like, "Oh, I'm doing scrambled eggs," and I was like, "Oh, are you doing British, French, or American style?" And you're like, "What? What the fuck does that even mean? I'm doing Costa Rican style."
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Medium high heat. You gotta burn the ham a little bit. But I actually these days. So which also you gotta fry it up. There's no milk or anything in there, no water in the egg. Lots of butter and deliciousness. So
Butter is the key. That's the
Butter.
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Butter is the key to the South.
absolutely.
Well,
To the world.
oh yeah. And that was like one of the common things when I was gigging. When we left the club, we used to always stop somewhere and get like breakfast because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we get out.
Yeah.
And we stop at like Famous Amos or Huddle House or whatever.
Waffle House.
Yeah, make
Famous
a big,
Amos.
yeah,
I
yeah.
miss Famous Amos.
Oh, we'd
Chicken
make
livers with gravy, Tracy.
we'd make a big mess and, be in there till the morning before we finally leave. Hey,
They had good biscuits.
good food period, good breakfast. And all those little places, it's nice and greasy, and most of it's fried.
Oh, it was totally greasy
shit.
spoon.
Oh, absolutely.
Good stuff.
Hey, that brings me back to the 5 Points.
Oh, yeah.
The Brown Derby. The Brown Derby that used to be
Ah.
the
Right.
Oh,
place
God,
in 5
yes.
Points. That's my family. We always just referred to it as the greasy spoon. We didn't call it the Brown Derby. We just called it the greasy spoon
Oh, really? Yeah.
or Derby House, whatever it was. Yeah.
Waffle House is one thing, but the OG Derby. I remember, man, one time I was bartending it was back when it was Starlight. No, I don't think it was Starlight. I think it was right when Christy bought Birdie's, and it was I remember it was Bert and I were working on a Sunday, and we're like, it was Easter Sunday, and we're like, let's get a breakfast, and we were both working. I was like, let's just go next door. Man, that was a very long shift. Very long shift. Just like you feel like collected like nothing but like a pound of some sort of grease like in your insides. As much as like it was great having that place, right? The convenience was there, but it was like, oh man, no, that was brutal. It was brutal. Like even my 30-year-old stomach couldn't get out of it.
I speaking for the old guys, I get up real early in the morning, and after I eat a great big old breakfast like that, I fall asleep in the chair in front of the news.
I'm like, well,
I had to turn my camera off when he said old guys. But I'll turn it back on.
You look younger than all of us, Jim. Just so you know.
All right. Thanks for saying that. It's very sweet. Tracy's going to edit that out. That's fake news. Fake news. Fact check.
I'll keep the clip for you.
Thank you. So what are you going to do now, Christina? What's next?
well, I have a retail spot that I'm working on with a friend in Murray Hill. And it's gonna have, it's gonna be a little bit of everything. Like I spent all day. Actually, I was running late today because I was designing and measuring and doing the concept. Zaguate is going to be the name of it, which is a Costa Rican street dog. As we alluded earlier, I am half Costa Rican. The Wagner always throws people off. But yeah, and as a kid, we would always go. My mom was born and raised there. My brother and sister were born there, so we would go as kids pretty regularly. I was always fascinated by the Zaguates.
My ex-wife is a Tika, and we lived in Costa Rica for a couple of years.
Yeah, so I just remember as a kid, I would run at them, and my mom would be like, "They're feral animals. You don't want to get near. These are."
So where's your spot in Murray Hill?
It is connected to Duval Dogs. It's at the second roundabout. So across Tina's Deli. We're gonna be going in there, and again, like I just got back from New York. I wanted my daughter to meet her grandfather on his side.
Wow.
That was kind of a good 4 days of me just kind of like coming up with some concepts and some plans and stuff like that. And it's going to be like, with the markets and the art and that kind of stuff, like, we have such a great community of makers and everything here. And
yeah, that's for sure.
And, the markets are fun and everything, but, sometimes it's just, we have an opportunity and an option with a brick and mortar. I'm partnering up with a good friend of mine, Nikki, who her and Dave own Duval Dog. And so there's a great little retail spot right there. Going to start breaking ground on that any day now. And kind of a little bit of homewares, kind of upcycled, but also different creators are going to be in the space. But my thing is, functional art. We buy so much garbage, on Amazon. There's so many good things and antiques with good bones in them. Repurposing and saving things from the landfill. Creating, we all live in, like, for instance, I have a smaller, craftsman house, and I have a lot of stuff. So I always have to be creative with repurposing and reutilizing as much space as I possibly can. So I'm building my woodworking shop and things always kind of been interested in and wanting to do, coming from a sculpture background, and then bringing all of showing like a little bit of what we have to offer on a local market artisan type small scale. Working on workshops, working on, still doing community based, things that we're going to have there. It's going to be a small space, not going to be a bar. It's going to be retail only. But having like a zine library, I wanted to do like community bookshelf, a swap shelf, a little bit of everything, just to kind of celebrate of all of the, the people that we have here in the community.
In the spirit of the band Crass, did you not? Oh, what? You didn't think that was? No, that's for real.
Wait, what?
Oh, in the spirit of the band Crass.
Oh,
doing
okay.
commune stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, like
the British, yeah. I mean, they're British.
And we were saying
we fought a war with them.
But yeah, so yeah, I know it's one of those things that I'm a great again, putting the bones there and then seeing how it takes shape in itself. Like I'm basically building a structure, and the space will be a true reflection of the people that it serves. In the same spirit of how Raindogs was.
That sounds
really
great.
good.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
And Murray Hill, that's
exactly
up and coming, that.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
becoming where hey, the creatives again, like where 5 points is, it is what it is. The signs are going to present themselves, and you just have to know how to read them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you have again adapt,
Hey, you got to pay attention, man.
and you got to know when it didn't feel like home anymore, and that's what bums me out. I would go and it was like you go to the space. I would come to the space, and the excitement because it was always clouded by more and more problems, and it just seemed again it wasn't one thing, it wasn't four, five, 7 or 8 things that made us made the decision that we needed to pivot into kind of get our bearings back and then figure out what our focus should be, because it didn't feel like we were like it was in the right space, or that it was the right move either. So this move feels good. I'm excited about it. I'm nervous about it, of course, because it's something
Sure.
now I'm exercising a muscle that I haven't used before. So as soon as I get out of my own head, and again, today was a big progress, because I sat down and I came up with all of the fundamental basics, and I started sketching out some things. So now I'm primed and proper and ready to get weird with it.
That's quite a leap to just jump out and then jump right back in again.
Well, I mean, I jumped into it when I wasn't,
That's wise.
and I jumped into motherhood when I wasn't ready. Everything I do is usually a bit chaotic, but that seems to how I do my best work. You know what I mean? Is procrastinating and then be like, all right, let's cram for this test, and but again, all the pieces to fall in place, and at the very last minute they do. I remember when we were opening up Raindogs, so we moved in and we started just renovating, and we got keys to the place. It was in the middle of the summer, and we noticed after like the first week, we're like, no matter what, we turn this air down, it just isn't getting cold enough. And then I started kind of doing some research, and it was when my dad was still around, and he was helping me with the space, of course. And I remember he was like, well, boy, it looks like my dad called me boy. Well, boy, it looks like you're missing an AC unit up here. It's got the ductwork here and everything. I was like, what do you mean I'm missing an AC unit? Yeah, the people who had the place before, like they had ripped out the drop ceiling, and so with that they had to add an entire new AC unit, and in order to because again, drop ceiling it keeps that heat in. So he come to find my dad was he was a character, and he did some research. He calls me back, and older gentleman. He's like, well, boy, it's Starvin' Marvin. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, well, Starvin' Marvin got the AC over there. He's the one who pulled it off. He'll put a crane on there, but he won't install it until you paid. And then when I talked to the landlord, I was like, so they're like, oh yeah, we just didn't know what was going on with that. And I was like, well, we need the second AC unit in order to be functioning, because it's not getting cold enough inside this space. We have no people in here, and it's not cold enough. So, and she wouldn't pay for it until it was installed. So my dad stepped up and at the very last minute, like he's like, you know what, I'll do it. And he sat there and he floated the money for a day. But this is all happening during our soft opening. So I'm sitting there in tears, Raindogs, while Starvin' Marvin is with a crane installing the AC unit. As people are walking in, the AC unit is being installed, because it was literally butt clenching. It went from like stress tears to like happy tears. Like, we did it. Oh my God. I don't even know how. Like, literally, as people were walking on, a second AC unit is being installed on the roof. And his name was Starvin' Marvin, and it was just the most appropriate name. Like, well, glad I was able to help you out, but next time. And I was like, how many times do I need to put an AC unit on a roof on a Friday night. Hopefully more times. Hopefully, like, I'll have a better plan for this next time around. But
Yeah, but that's one of those little stories you'll never forget.
yeah, no, yeah.
Good, bad,
So
or ugly.
with all this transition and the new work in Murray Hill, do you still have time to play your instrument?
Oh yeah. I mean, this project will be again when you don't have to deal with uh running a venue is not uh it's not for the weak because your personalities, you're like, what kind of show is it? What kind of then you have to worry about the bar staff and how they work together and then you have to worry about oh, is there going to be a meth head on my front patio trying to I don't know create like it's just meth heads are going to be everywhere, whatever. But with the personalities inside of a place, this place is going to be a nice focus on art, creativity, function, and again, like doing some workshops. Like you want to learn how to do something, or and again, the things that I did feel are important, and now so more than ever is a community that gets together and makes the right changes and listens to the people and to connect city officials with the public and to make some of these problems rectify. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But again, like there's just so much insurance, liability, all of that stuff when it has to deal with alcohol sales is
Sure.
kind of like where because that is it is it's a lot for me for right now. You know what I mean? And it's just not where I'm at in the stage of my life,
Gotcha.
I made this decision with passing my father, and then a lot of because I have a daughter that I only have one, and this is my second born is my most important because when you have a passing, you have this great loss, and now Charles, you've been through this, recently as well. We've leaned on each other through that, and I appreciate that too. You being there for me. And
You for me.
absolutely, of course. But all everything of my childhood started rushing back. Like I remember in '89 when my dad, waking me up at midnight, like, come on, boy, let's get outside. I was like, why? He's like, put on a jacket. Let's go, let's go. And we went out there morning playing in Snow Angels. And then, I think about, it was back when you could still drive on the beaches, and we went to, one of the parks and everything, and my dad was gone forever. And I was like, we're sitting here in line waiting, in our car. And my mom's like, I'm like, where's dad? And she's like, I don't know. He probably ran into somebody he knew from high school. And he did, and it was just like, and then, how perfectly clumsy, like all these memories just flooded back, it was right around when when we became pregnant with my daughter, that was about when we started noticing that there was something wrong with dad. He wasn't being his normal jovial self, and he started getting confused, and then all of that was I only have one chance to do this. Like I was my dad's only kid. I have brother and sister, but they were from my mom's previous marriage. But there were so many similarities. Like we both had our kid late, and it would be unfair. Like the role that I have, and the things that I've figured out as a parent is that no matter what, you want to make their lives better than yours, right? You want to give them more opportunities. You want to take all of the things that you knew from your childhood and you want to make it better. And at the rate that I was going, in order to be able to breathe life into Raindogs, I wasn't able to do both as good as I could. Because again, Raindogs it's not like just like a bar. It's not just like a restaurant. It's not like where you can have somebody in charge that can make these decisions for you and it'll be exactly how you want it to. And yeah, you can say that that's on me too. I'm a control freak or something like that. But again, like when I say how important it is to have your ear to the ground on the community that you're trying to serve, it's so important that you have to be there all the time. And I couldn't be there all the time at the same time of giving my daughter, sorry, I'm not going to say her name out, but giving my daughter as good of a life that my father gave to me because, oh, there's a cat butt.
Yeah.
I thought Charles was going to be the first.
That's a teacher.
I literally have 4 fucking cats sleeping in front of me.
Yeah, I felt myself, the trajectory that I was going, I wasn't able to be available for her because I was constantly fixing everything, like physically fixing. Like the bar, like literally was falling apart, and I was hemorrhaging money on trying to make repairs to keep it together, and I was like, man, I'm spending more money on this building I don't own than I am on me and my child, and my priorities were a little bit shifted. And again, it was the overhead, it was the the way things are. Like, I look at my electricity bill from 13 years, from 2013, it's literally twice as much, now. And then the same thing with the cost of goods, you know what I mean? I'm spending 3 times as much as I used to back then. So it was just like, the overhead became too much for the way that I had the business set up because, I was very adamant as a musician. I didn't want to take money from them at the door. I wanted the musicians to get 100%. And then I just make money, like pay for the door guy and the sound guy. And then I just make my money off the bar. You know what I mean? Take care of the staff that I have there. And all of those decisions aren't the most, lucrative business plan, but it felt right to me and it was the right thing to do. So as soon as my business plan became irrelevant because of, inflation and landlord greed, not mine specifically, but across the board, because that's the only thing that trickles down, is the market. And it wasn't enough for me to be able to sustain both of them properly. And my daughter is the most important thing to me.
Sure.
Community is very important. And that's why the pivot for this, because it gives the flexibility of the schedule a little bit more, we would be closing at retail hours. So I wouldn't have to sit there and run up there at 4 a.m. to break up. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's going to be a very, from what you've described, it does sound like you picked the perfect neighborhood for it. It's near where a lot of your former patrons of Raindogs live. It's where they live and breathe in Murray Hill. A lot of them.
Edgewood Avenue is what's going on right now. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Working with them, I do have a couple different venues that I'm going to be working on doing Raindogs Presents shows. So like Charles and I are working on a show February 10th. So we're going to be having that. We're trying out a venue, Clips, which is right around the corner from Charles.
It's literally a 30-second walk from me. Yeah.
So I'm excited about partnering up with those guys and seeing if there is a way for us to continue doing some shows. You know what I mean? Like on a reasonable scale. You know what I mean? But not getting involved with the too much of the operations is not what I'm looking for. I'm trying to use my time as wisely as I possibly can and focus on the things that I'm good at, not the things that are stressing me out.
Yeah, you've seen like you say, it'd be a different kind of vibe than what seems to be infiltrating the area. We know the 5 at the old Sunray Cinema, and we know the new Deck Alive down on Bay Street. Those are 2 pretty big rooms, big venues.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that I really think that it will. I like to see the, some shows not just going, I love St. Augustine and Ryan, who created St. Augustine Amphitheater, that vibe. I don't know who's working on it now, but I worked with him before, like Harvest of Hope, like all kinds of stuff. And he's a phenomenal person. It would be great to see that happen here in Jacksonville again, like on larger scale. Like I look forward to checking out, that kind of everything. And there's a lot of things that are moving around and changing. Some of the promoter that worked with us is working with going into another music venue and doing some great things. So seeing seeing the area thrive and like getting people in Jacksonville getting excited about attending these shows. The more shows that we attend across the board, the better our markets. Like 2002, 98 to 2002, we were a B market. Like we would get some really phenomenal shows. Now promoters are not going to sit there if they keep on losing their ass on big guarantees and no attendance. Like then the booking agents aren't going to send those shows either. So it's so to say, like, if you build it, will they come? If the people come, they'll continue to build it. So everybody should always be supporting every live music venue. Like we don't, like the pigeonholing and all of that stuff that doesn't work for us, especially in us barely holding on to C market status at this point.
That was the biggest fear back in 10, 20, 30 years ago, is when a show would come to town. We didn't have pre-sales like we do now. So it was like the promoters were always taking a big, big risk. If I build it, will they come?
Right.
I do remember, when I was in the ska band and everything, that was like 96, we played a bunch of shows, and there was no internet back then either. We would sit there, and I remember I would get off, I would sit there and sketch a flyer, while I was like at school, like, during lunch break. And then on my walk home from getting off the bus, there's a Winn-Dixie right around the corner from my parents' house. So I remember going there, the pocket, like I would go up to just annoy the shit out of the person at the front and just get like, 2 rolls of dimes and sit there one by one, just, I'd take the first one and then cut it up and then to 4 and then just sit there and hand make flyers from a photocopier machine and then sit there and cut it up and get a ride from Will. We would go out to like different other high schools and like flyer out. Like you would go to I was a flyer girl for Jason Lewis, and working with there was a zine that I was working with this guy, Lionel. And I remember
Lionel Hampton.
Huh?
Floyd Lionel Hampton. Yeah, that's his real name. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was like, wait, Hampton? But I remember I would work for Jason, like hanging up flyers, and then he would give us like a matinee, room. Basically, we'd have and we'd be able to make money off the door that paid for them to the zine. Shit like that. It was like super cool. But people would come out again. There was no internet. There was not like, it was somewhat there. Only rich kids had it. For the most part, like you would have to go out and brave the outdoors, without knowing what's going on. But besides having a flyer in your hand, those were really great days. And that was when, it was all walk up because pre-sale. That means Ticketmaster was already like raping people from all that fees and all that.
Pearl Jam made that prevalent. Yeah.
Huh?
I said Pearl Jam made that prevalent a couple of years before. Yeah.
Yeah. But but still people would come out. There's more attendance back then. Like it was, no matter what, you would go out on a Tuesday night and there'd be like 50 to 60, people there. You know what I mean?
At the Motor Lounge.
At the Milk Bar. Like, we go back. You know what I mean?
It's hard to get crowds these days like that because there's Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it's like people
it's a bit like less adventurous, So I don't know. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, the more that people go out and physically support, these venues that are trying hard to pump in culture into our brains. Like the more that
Sure.
the more that the whole city thrives, because again, anyway, y'all know.
Yeah, you're keeping your money and the circulation of the city, and it's
Sure.
just that's how it is.
You're giving, the more that we got support, the more that they're going to do well. Like that, it's just keeping it in here instead of just, giving, Netflix that they raise their prices every, like, that sound like an old word. They raise their prices for what
I got
reason?
an ad on Netflix today. I'll upgrade my account for another family member or something. I'm like, no.
For all the farming that you're doing from my life and whatnot, and selling it to advertisers, but
Well, I'll tell you, when COVID hit, I had to hibernate pretty much just to protect my mom because she's 98 and lives right down the street over at Bell Riverside here. So I can just walk over there from where I'm at. But so I didn't go out anymore. I didn't do any of that stuff. I wasn't patronizing anybody, and a lot of people to patronize weren't performing either. And but my point is that once that was over with, it took me a year or two just to put my feet back out on the street because I got so used to being a homebody.
yeah,
This guy right here, Tracy, partly responsible for getting me the hell out again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks, Tracy.
Hey, Christina, before we go, have you got any closing thoughts for us?
Oh, Lord.
I know it's a loaded
That's
question.
a good one.
Closing.
Yeah, short and sweet.
I mean, I don't know. That's a open-ended thing. I mean, it's really easy. Like, I think that for me as a, obvious, like an obvious liberal, a supporter of the arts, somebody who needs, like, there's so many of us that need art and love and music in our lives. And again, like, as you were, Jim, as you were saying, it was hard to get back out there. And I think that the aftermath of COVID, the building, the businesses that we have lost, the community and the way that things are right now, overall, like, even if you're not a political person, you have to be paying attention to what's happening to our community as creatives. You look at just how we cut everything when it comes to the arts, and then you're watching humanity be inhuman right now. I think, again, like, I know that my transition, it came at a tough time, but it was needed for me to sit there and save my strength to keep going and to find a new avenue. I think that the more now than ever, that community is so important, and that we need to sit there and be together, and we're better, like, to not give up on our town, not give up on people, you know what I mean? To not give up on the arts. If we're not going to have help with it, we can help ourselves. We can show that our city has so much to offer, and there's so many good creators here. Like, I look at, Hope Gives Me Hope, and Barbara, and all of these beautiful, strong women that, I have the pleasure of being Angie Nixon, like what she does with her, Cafe Resistance. Like, there's so many strong females that I look up to in this community that are just tirelessly pushing to make
Hope and Barbara did so much for me and made my life so much better and helped me out so much. I'm grateful forever.
We are in the presence of these strong goddesses, and there's a lot of ways that we can support all of them. The thing is, the people who are empaths that are trying so hard to keep this city on track, a lot of us are very tired, and it feels hopeless, especially when you have on a local turnout like we do for our local elections, which dictate so many important things that are more.
Yep.
It's more than just the presidential. The local, that's how we can go. Like, yes, we lost, like, the big guy, and however our country is moving right now is not, it's anybody who has a whole heart and a soul can see that it's not moving in a compassionate way. We can direct all of that energy into supporting local people and the people that want to make this city better, because there are so many of them, but you don't need to financially support. Just go to an event, just show up, just participate, just, share an event if you can't go to it, just get involved and give everybody a little bit more hope than we have right now. That's the biggest thing, taking, for me, if you don't support, they can't stick around forever. You have to support your community. You have to put money back into it, and you have to sit there and get involved in order to stand up for our rights, because they're not going to stop with women's rights. I'm a second-class citizen right now. My daughter has less rights than I did, and they're not going to stop with us. You can already see that they're tearing apart entire community.
They're steamrolling through it right now.
Yeah,
and I think you threw out a really good word.
They're trying to do
Christina,
to kind of keep us, but we got to stay on course. So to stay on course, we're all here for a very short amount of time. We have to plant good seeds. We have to ensure that we leave this world a little bit better than we got it. We have to be kinder to ourselves.
I totally
You
agree.
threw out a
Myself
word
a pause
earlier.
right now.
Threw out a word earlier about, it's almost exhausting being an empath right now. And there's a reason for that, is that I think over the last 20 years, just as a society, we've lost a lot of empaths, or I should say empathy, built into the human psyche, that it seems rare these days. So people are not aware, they're not sensitive, they're not picking up on other people's vibes and what their needs are. All they see is something, and they have no context around what somebody does or somebody looks like, because they have no empathy.
And that's the thing. It's like, remember that Pay It Forward movie, right?
Yeah.
Not, whatever, like, but the concept's not bad. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a great concept.
because, like, sometimes I know that I've been, I've had some of the hardest part of my life has been probably the last 6 months to date. The amount of things that have just been one after another have been the hardest on me. And, loss of life and just in general. But, when I go out and everything and I'm feeling all this stuff and I'm trying to, like, and somebody's rude to me, I have no idea what they're going through, though. Like, just take yourself out of the equation for a second and just realize that everybody's going through a really shitty time. There's not one person that I've spoken to that isn't going through some sort of, like, they got laid off. They're worried about, like, I'm Spanish. Like, we have people, in my family that, we're worried. I'm like, are they going to get kicked out, after 40 years? Because there's no rhyme or reason for all this stuff going on. You have no idea what somebody is going through. So the best thing is, before you react, just think a second. You know what I mean? Just take a beat, take a pause. Like I tell my toddler, just take a second. Is it your turn or is it not your turn? Should you let this one thing that made you mad ruin everything for you and the rest? And that's why I say the concept of Pay It Forward, like, just stop thinking about yourself for a second and just realize, like, the way that a society does well and the way it connects is if we're all a little bit aware of each other and our boundaries and how to make sure that everything is good for all of us. Like, all of us have to be okay. You know what I mean? And if you just do small little habits every day, to just do one nice thing, then you find it to be addictive. You know what I mean? Like, I had such a good time doing this. I want to do something else out of my character. And then that becomes almost like a normal thing. It's a normal pattern that you just have slowly, like, integrated into your life.
Sure. Christina, I tell you,
This is why we've been friends for so many years.
I tell you, you have been a joy to have on the program.
I love you, Christina.
Fantastic conversation. Some of us know you a little better now.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
I
thank you
like the
so
way you think, Christina Wagner.
I love you guys.
Love you
Thank
too,
you.
Charles,
Everyone
Jim.
loves you.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers,
Come on,
everybody.
Cheers.
Come on, Trace. You got something, right?
Clink, clink.
There
Here
we
we
go.
go. Good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
Sayonara.
Whoa.
Well, that's a wrap. Another fantastic episode of the podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms, wherever you surf, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, wherever. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, comment, and smash that subscribe button. If you're streaming audio for the podcast, you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast programs. In the meantime, I like to tell everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, peace.